A very good afternoon, students. Today I will be taking standard 9 ICSE topic, that is Earth as a planet. Under this topic, we will be talking about proofs explaining the shape of the Earth as a planet, Earth as the home of humankind. Now, in this topic, as we are discussing Earth as a planet, we are trying to understand how Earth was understood in the very older period of time. In the earlier days, it was believed that Earth looked something like a flat surface, or it was also believed that Earth was at the center and all the celestial bodies and heavenly bodies were revolving around it. This particular theory was known as geocentric theory. The first picture which is visible here explains that the Earth is at the center and all the celestial bodies are moving, including the sun, around the Earth. This particular theory was superseded by heliocentric theory, and that was somewhere after 16th century, wherein people believed, or there were many mathematicians, geographers, philosophers who had the idea, like Paramita, Aristotle, who came up with the idea that the Earth is revolving around with another planets around the sun, and we have a solar system, wherein sun is at the center of the solar system. Earth as a planet basically is the only planet which is unique and which is the planet which supports life. If you look at Earth, it looks blue in color from space, and therefore it is known as blue planet. It looks blue mainly because 71% of the Earth's surface is made up of water, and therefore it is also known as watery planet. If we are talking about the solar system, Earth and other celestial bodies are the part of the solar system, wherein we have the sun, which is a star which gives light and heat to all the planets, which includes your Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. Along with that, we have asteroid belt, comets, meteors are the part of solar system. There are very many proofs which are explaining that the shape of the Earth is spherical, round in nature. Just to prove that the geocentric theory or the ideas about the shape of the Earth, whether it was a disc or a flat surface, we have n number of proofs explaining. Let us check those proofs. Okay. Shape of the Earth, as said, was considered flat disc, rectangular, flat block, which was proved wrong by Aryabhatta, Indian mathematician, and he's also said that the shape of the Earth is spherical. It has its own axis and it revolves around its own axis. Pythagoras was of the same opinion. Coming towards the proofs which I was about to discuss, the very first proof is your Bedford level experiment. The Bedford level experiment was carried out in England, wherein there were 3 poles inserted in the Bedford level canal at the distance of 5 kilometers each, and when it was viewed from the end of the canal, the middle pole looked higher compared to the remaining 2 poles. This experiment was carried out at different places just to check the surface structure, and it was found that the surface structure was circular other than a flat surface, which would show us the poles at the same level. So this was the first proof explaining the shape of the Earth is spherical. The second proof is sighting of ship. Sighting of ship, when we are trying to understand the shape of the Earth, if it is a flat Earth surface, we can see all the ships at the same time at once. But since the shape of the Earth is spherical in nature, you can see the parts of the ship at different intervals. The very first part, which is known as mast, okay, is visible first, followed by the funnel and followed by the hull. Initially you can see the mast, and later on you can see the whole ship approaching towards you at different intervals. Similarly, if the ship is moving away from you, then you tend to see the ship becoming smaller in size, and then you see that the ship is moving and it's not visible. That doesn't mean that it is sinking, it is moving to the other part of the world. That is explaining that the shape of the Earth is spherical or circular in nature. The next proof is your pole star. Pole star, the star which helps us to understand the north direction. From the pole it is at 90 degrees, but as you are moving towards the equator, the angle decreases. And this is best understood or best explained only if the shape of the Earth is spherical. If the shape of the Earth was flat, we could have seen the same angle and the height of the pole star also would have been same from all the sides. The best and the authentic proof is the satellite pictures which were taken somewhere in the 20th century, wherein the image of the Earth and other planets came to be circular or spherical in nature. This proof also explained to us that the shape of the Earth is not a complete sphere, but has the flattened poles and the bulging equator. Next proof, which helps us to understand the shape of the Earth's circular sphere or round in nature, is your lunar eclipse. Lunar eclipse is the position of the time period on a full moon day when the sun, earth and moon are in the straight line, when the sun's light fall on the earth and the earth's shadow casts on the moon. During the partial lunar eclipse, you can see a part of circular portion shadow casting on the moon, and on the total lunar eclipse you can see the complete round imprint of the earth's shadow. This explains to us that the shape of the earth is circular. Next proof is your circular horizon. Circular horizon can be best understood with the help of an example. In the first case, you can see there are 2 points, point X and point Y. Viewing the horizon from point Y is covering a smaller horizon. But as you are moving to point X, it is covering a bigger horizon. The more you travel to a greater altitude, you can see more visibility and the horizon keeps on increasing. This can be best explained if you are viewing at the bottom from a higher or taller building, maybe at the 20th floor. But if you move to the 50th floor, you can see much more things visible, and that's how it explains that the horizon keeps on increasing, mainly because of the circular shape of the or the spherical shape of the earth. In the modern times, the radio waves are also able to heard by us up to a certain limit, as the shape of the earth is circular and you cannot hear them after the horizon, which is not possible to reach. If the shape of the earth was flat, you could have seen from point Y and point X the same size of horizon without increase or decrease in size. The next proof explains sunrise and sunset. Sunrise and sunset, as we know, every part of the earth's surface experiences different times of sunrise, moon and sunset timing. So that explains that the shape of the earth is circular. If the shape of the earth had to be flat surface, sunrise, moon and sunset timing would have remained the same. Circumnavigation is another proof which explains to us that the shape of the earth is circular, spherical. In the year 1519, Ferdinand Magellan, he took the first voyage around the world explaining that the shape of the earth is spherical. He started his journey from Spain, moved towards South America and further, and then he travelled back and moved back to Spain somewhere in the year 1922, and he proved that the shape of the earth is spherical. In his journey, as he was travelling along with his crew members, he did not come across any abrupt or sharp edges. The last proof says that Earth is as a heavenly body. If we are comparing the other celestial bodies, the planets and the sun star, which is circular in shape, Earth cannot be an exception to all this, and therefore we prove that the shape of the Earth is spherical in nature. Coming towards the actual shape of the Earth, we have oblate, spheroid, or it is also known as geoid. The actual shape of the Earth is geoid, which means the poles are flattened and the Earth is bulging. Okay. Now this particular shape is the result of the centrifugal force of Earth rotation, which is at a greater speed, and all this is possible mainly because of the rotational process, and the rotational process has formed a bulge at the equator and the compression of the poles has taken place. If you check the diameter, the equatorial diameter is 12,756 km and the polar diameter is 12,740 km. Earth as the home of humankind. Earth is the only planet which is habitable, which supports life, and this is mainly because it has some important features which makes it habitable and for the life to possible to survive on Earth. The very first point is distance from the sun. Distance from the sun is 150 million kilometers, and this distance is very appropriate. This distance is neither too hot nor too cold for the planet Earth to evolve life and survive it in different forms. The average temperature is 17 degrees Celsius, which is something very appropriate. If it changes by a few degrees on the higher side or lower side, it's going to affect the species which might become endangered initially and then they might become extinct. If we are comparing the planets, the first two planets, that is Mercury and Venus, in order after the Sun, those planets experience very high temperature conditions and the maximum temperature is moving up to 400 degrees Celsius. The planet Venus is more hotter than Mercury, mainly because of the presence of carbon dioxide, which is on the higher percentage, and it rises the temperature and leads to a lot of global warming temperature conditions. With respect to Earth, we have only 0.03% as carbon dioxide, which makes life possible with that minimum percentage of carbon dioxide. The remaining planets, that is your Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus and Neptune, are gaseous planets and their surface temperature is very, very cold, so life is not possible there. Apart from the distance from the Sun and the temperature conditions, we have certain spheres which are the part of the Earth, that is atmosphere. It is the envelope of air which is made up of certain gases. The gases which are present in certain percentage and they are known as constituents of the air, which include 78% of nitrogen, 21% of oxygen, 0.03% of carbon dioxide, 0.01% of rare gases like hydrogen, helium, argon. Apart from that, water vapor and dust particle makes up the whole 100%, including the remaining percentages. The presence of atmosphere helps in filtering the ultraviolet rays during the daytime when the insulation is moving inside through the atmosphere into the Earth's surface. So it filters the ultraviolet rays and makes the temperature conditions much normal and comfortable. At night, when it is radiating back the terrestrial radiation, it also keeps the atmosphere warm as some percentage of heat is trapped by the atmosphere. So during the night time, when the sun is not present, the temperature conditions are maintained for the life form to survive. In the absence of atmosphere, during the daytime, Earth would have experienced extreme boiling conditions and at night we would have experienced extreme freezing conditions. In such case, evolution of life would not have been possible and also the survival. We have another important thing in atmosphere, that is the presence of ozone. This ozone gas, which is known as O3, is a part of stratosphere and it filters the ultraviolet rays. These ultraviolet rays are very harmful as far as temperature rising is concerned, injuries to skin and vision is concerned. The next important thing of the sphere, which is home to Earth, is your hydrosphere. Water present in different states, that is solid in the form of mountain glacier and continent glacier, liquids and gaseous. Liquid is all the water present in the form of oceans, seas, rivers, lakes, ponds, rainwater, underground water, and gaseous state of water is your water vapor content. All the water present helps to moderate the climate and also the surface temperature of the Earth in the form of land breeze and sea breeze. It regulates the temperature conditions. It helps in the formation of low pressure and high pressure areas, the movement of wind, which is carrying the circulation of cooler air to warmer air, and all that is possible because we have such percentage of water in the form of hydrosphere. The hydrological cycle, as we have studied in lower classes, explains to us about certain processes like evaporation, transpiration, evapotranspiration, condensation and precipitation. Precipitation in the form of rainfall, snowfall, sleet and hail. All this helps in regulating the life forms in different parts on the Earth's surface, whether it is atmosphere, lithosphere, hydrosphere and so on. The next important sphere is lithosphere, the solid crust of the Earth's surface. It is also known as the rocky and the land surface of the Earth's surface, which is weathered because of some exogenic forces. These exogenic forces are your wind, water, glaciers, sea waves, and which break down this rock material into a powdery material that is known as soil. This soil, when it gets added and mixed with humus and organic matter, is fit to grow and germinate seeds, and it helps in providing nutrients for the growth of plants. Once the plants are grown and they grow in the form of producers, These plants give food to animal life, and the food chain continues, in the form of food web, which helps in maintaining the ecological balance. Then we have the sphere, which is the sphere which is talking about sphere of life, that is biosphere. Biosphere is something explaining life on lithosphere, life in hydrosphere, and life in atmosphere. So the narrow realm of contact between lithosphere, hydrosphere and atmosphere is biosphere. Biosphere provides all the necessities for the life to evolve and survive, like heat, light, water, food, habitats, and because of this all living species survival is possible on Earth. When we are talking about biosphere, we have two major kingdoms. One is plant kingdom, another is animal kingdom. Plant kingdom talks about all the grassroots level, tiniest bushes up to huge tall trees, and animal life talks about tiny bacteria in the form of life up to huge animals like blue whale, elephant and ostrich. Now, when we are talking about biosphere and the whole maintenance of ecological balance, it is possible because of certain cycles. One of the cycles which we discussed just now was hydrological cycle. Another cycle is nutrition cycle. What is nutrition cycle? Nutrition cycle is the balance between living and non-living things. It is nothing but it is the interdependence on food chain through photosynthesis process, transpiration, respiration. So we have the growth of plants which take the nutrients from the soil, and these plants are consumed by heterotrophs, that is consumers. Man is at the top level, which takes care or modifies the environment according to his own wish and will. The plants give life to herbivores, which are plant eaters. Plant eaters are consumed by the flesh eaters, that is carnivores. And when all these animals die, they decompose with the help of decomposers, saprotrophs. When they decompose into the soil, it forms a abiotic factor, and then this gets added to the soil in the form of nutrients to complete the cycle all over again, and it provides the nutrients to the plants, and the whole cycle of nutrition continues as other cycles continue. The next cycle is your carbon cycle. Carbon cycle tries to explain to us that carbon is present in all life form in the raw state. During the photosynthesis process, when plant uses sunlight, water and carbon dioxide to prepare its food, it absorbs the carbon dioxide or the carbon content in the form of starch. Now this starch, which is the part of plant life, moves to the different levels through food chain, that is moving from herbivores to carnivores, and ultimately when all these life forms die and decompose, they are taken care by the fungi and bacteria, which are saprotrophs, which decompose this material into the soil and then adds that carbon content back to soil. When the same plant life and animal life which dies over a period because of compaction and decomposition process gets converted into fossil fuels. These fossil fuels, when are burnt, give carbon back to the atmosphere. So one way of giving carbon back to the atmosphere is wherein human beings and animals are inhaling oxygen and giving back carbon dioxide. Another way is through the burning of fossil fuels. So the cycle of movement of carbon from the plant life or from the atmosphere to the other living organisms, and from other living organisms in the form of carbon dioxide exhaling and the burning of fossil fuels completes the carbon cycle. So, if there is any imbalance in the carbon cycle and the percentage of carbon dioxide present in the atmosphere, in Earth's atmosphere is 0.03, if it exceeds slightly, that will lead to higher temperature conditions which currently we are experiencing due to global warming. And the results of global warming will lead to melting of glaciers, then it will lead to the submersion of coastline and also. So, we need to take care and maintain this presence of carbon content in the atmosphere to maintain the balance. The next cycle is your nitrogen cycle. The nitrogen cycle, when we are talking about, it is the plants which take the nitrates from the soil to produce food, and it helps the plants to grow. As the plants are growing, they are producing food. That food continues to be the part of different levels of food chain, and through the different levels of food chain it moves further. And it is given back to the soil in the form of excreta, manure and other human waste material, and that's how the nitrogen moves back to soil. That completes your nitrogen cycle. Then we have the oxygen cycle, the very last and important cycle, and something which gives life forms. Basically, during the photosynthesis process, when the plant is producing its food with the help of sunlight, water vapor, temperature conditions and carbon dioxide, it produces oxygen. This oxygen moves to different levels of atmosphere, and then it is inhaled by human beings, animals, and then again when animals and human beings are exhaling, the carbon dioxide is given back to the plant life, and whole cycle of oxygen gets completed. Just to take a quick recall, we were trying to understand Earth as a planet, and the very first subtopic was we started with geocentric theory, which we moved towards the heliocentric theory, and the proofs explaining the shape of the Earth as spherical in nature. The very first proof was the Bedford level experiment, sighting of a ship, pole star, satellite pictures, circular horizon, then Earth as a heavenly body. Then we spoke about geoid, the shape of the Earth or Earth shape. It is also known as oblate spheroid. Then we spoke about Earth as a home of humankind. Under that we discussed the topics distance from the sun. Under that we also discussed the different spheres of Earth, that is lithosphere, hydrosphere, atmosphere and biosphere. Followed by that we focused on different cycles like nutrition cycle, carbon cycle, nitrogen cycle and oxygen cycle. So this was the completion of the first topic, that is Earth as a planet. Thank you.